Defiance of the forgotten. The stars had always called to humanity. For centuries, Earth's inhabitants had gazed upward, wondering about their place in the cosmos. They had launched probes, established colonies on Mars and Europa, and even sent expeditions to the nearest star systems. But despite all their technological advancements, humans remained largely unknown to the wider galactic community, a forgotten species on the fringes of explored space. That all changed on what would later be known as First Contact Day. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, watching as the massive alien fleet materialized just beyond Mars orbit. 57 ships, each one dwarfing the largest human vessels, arranged in perfect geometric formation. The holographic display beside her flickered to life, showing tactical readouts that made her stomach tighten. "Energy signatures off the charts," reported Lieutenant Coda, her second in command. "Nothing in our database even comes close." Elena nodded, her dark eyes narrowing. At 42, she had spent half her life in the United Earth Defense Force, rising through the ranks during the tumultuous years of planetary unification. The short-cropped silver in her black hair betrayed the stress of command, but her posture remained impeccable. "Alert all UEDF bases," she ordered. Activation Protocol Sierra 9. The alien transmission came simultaneously to every communications device on Earth and its colonies. The being that appeared on screens across the solar system resembled a humanoid mantis, its exoskeleton gleaming with an iridescent blue sheen. 4 compound eyes reflected the light in hypnotic patterns as it spoke, its mandibles clicking between words. "People of Earth, I am Grand Admiral Zex Terrell of the Zendari Empire. For 10 millennia, we have maintained order across 20,000 star systems. Your primitive species has been observed since your first nuclear detonation. The time has come for your integration. Submit to imperial authority within 1 planetary rotation, or face immediate pacification." The transmission ended, leaving billions in stunned silence. In the underground war room beneath the Himalayas, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Holographic representatives from every major nation and colony appeared around the circular table where Elena now stood, presenting her assessment. "The Zendari technology appears based on crystalline computing and energy manipulation," she explained, bringing up analysis from Earth's deep space observatories. "Their civilization has dominated through technological superiority for so long that their tactics and ship designs have remained virtually unchanged for centuries." President Amara Okafor leaned forward. "And how does that help us, Commander?" Elena's expression remained neutral, but her eyes held a glint of determination. "It means they're predictable, and predictability can be exploited." She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, the sleek, unconventional design of Earth's experimental supercarrier. "The UEFS Defiant," Elena continued, "completed just 3 months ago. It's equipped with our newest adaptive technology system, the Perseus core. While conventional weapons would be useless against their defenses, the Perseus system can analyze, learn, and adapt to counter their crystalline technology." "A single ship against an empire?" General Zhang asked skeptically. "The Defiant is unlike anything they've encountered," Elena replied. "Their empire has faced no meaningful challenge for millennia. Their technology is advanced but static. Ours is dynamic, constantly evolving." President Okafor studied the schematics, then met Elena's gaze. "You designed this ship, Commander. You've supervised every aspect of its development. Are you confident it can succeed?" "I believe in human ingenuity, Madam President," Elena answered firmly. "The Zendari expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally and lose. They don't expect innovation. They don't expect the Perseus core." After a tense silence, Okafor nodded. "Then the Defiant is our answer. Commander Reyes, you are hereby promoted to Admiral and tasked with Earth's defense." 12 hours later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UEFS, Defiant as it detached from its hidden dock within Ceres. At 2 kilometers long, The supercarrier represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, a vessel designed not just to fight, but to learn and adapt during battle. The ship's eye, Morgan, spoke through the bridge speakers. Perseus core online and functioning at optimal capacity, Admiral. All systems ready. Around her, the crew worked with focused intensity. Many were young, the best minds Earth had to offer, selected personally by Elena over the years. Lieutenant Coda manned the tactical station, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. The Zendari fleet has maintained position, he reported. Their deadline expires in 43 minutes. Elena took her command chair, feeling the subtle hum of the Perseus core beneath the deck plates. Deploy scout drones. I want detailed scans of their flagship. As the scout drones silently approached the alien fleet, the Perseus core began absorbing and analyzing data. Elena watched as the massive central screen filled with information, energy signatures, shield frequencies, weapons capabilities, all being processed in real time. Their crystalline technology operates on patterns, Dr. Samira Vega reported from the science station. The Perseus core is identifying recursive sequences in their shields and weapon systems. Helena nodded. And patterns can be disrupted. How long until the core can formulate countermeasures? 20 minutes at current processing speeds, Morgan answered. Elena's gaze remained fixed on the tactical display. Open a channel to the Zendari flagship. Grand Admiral Zex Terrell's image appeared on screen, compound eyes glittering with what Elena interpreted as amusement. Have you come to deliver Earth's surrender? The alien asked, mandibles clicking. Elena stood, her uniform crisp and immaculate. I am Admiral Elena Reyes of the United Earth Defense Force. I've come to reject your ultimatum and offer one of my own. Leave our system peacefully, or face the consequences of your aggression. The Zendari Admiral's carapace shifted in what might have been laughter. Your species' arrogance is remarkable. One vessel against the might of an empire that has ruled for 10 millennia. 10,000 years without meaningful innovation or challenge, Elena countered. While your empire stagnated in its perfection, humanity climbed from stone tools to interplanetary travel. We split the atom, mapped our genome, and reached for the stars, all in a fraction of the time it took you to build your empire. She leaned forward slightly. You've grown complacent, Admiral. And complacency is a weakness we intend to exploit. Before the Zendari could respond, Elena cut the transmission. Morgan, status of Perseus core. Countermeasures developed and ready for deployment. The AI responded. With current configurations, we can neutralize approximately 64% of their offensive capabilities. Tactical alert, Elena ordered. All hands to battle stations. Lieutenant Coda, arm Perseus disruption array. As the Defiant moved into attack position, the Zendari fleet began to shift, forming into an offensive pattern that had likely remained unchanged for millennia. Their predictability was both their greatest strength and most exploitable weakness. The first Zendari shots came as streaks of brilliant purple energy, capable of cutting through conventional shields like paper. The Defiant's adaptive shields flickered but held as the Perseus core instantly analyzed and countered the crystalline-based weaponry. Shields at 82%, Coda reported. The core is learning with each impact, strengthening our defenses. Elena nodded. Now we show them what humanity can do. Target their lead destroyers and fire disruption array. The Defiant's main weapon activated, not a conventional energy beam, but a complex pattern of quantum pulses designed to interfere with crystalline computing structures. The pulses struck the first Zendari vessel, initially seeming to have no effect. Then, like dominoes falling, the alien ship's lights flickered and died, its perfect formation disrupted as it drifted powerless in space. Direct hit, Coda exclaimed. Their systems are completely offline. On the tactical display, Elena watched as the Zendari fleet's perfect formation faltered. Confusion was evident in their movements. Clearly, this was not a scenario they had encountered in thousands of years of uncontested dominance. Target the next group, Elena ordered. Morgan, continue refining the disruption patterns. As the battle unfolded, the Defiant danced between the massive Zendari ships, its smaller size, and greater maneuverability proving advantageous. With each engagement, the Perseus Corps learned more about the enemy, becoming increasingly effective. 3 more Zendari ships went dark, their crystalline technologies rendered useless by the disruption pulses. The rest began to pull back, attempting to regroup and reassess. "They're adapting," Dr. Vega warned, changing their shield frequencies. The Perseus Corps is compensating, but they're learning faster than anticipated. Elena studied the tactical display. This was the critical moment. The Zendari were powerful, but unpracticed in the art of adaptation. Their technological evolution had been linear for millennia, while humanity had survived through disruption and innovation. "Deploy Phase 2, Elena commanded. "Release the quantum mines." Hundreds of small objects ejected from the Defiant's launch bays, seemingly inert pieces of debris that scattered throughout the battlefield. As the Zendari fleet maneuvered, several ships came into proximity with these mines. Instantly, localized fields of quantum disruption expanded, causing cascading failures in the crystalline systems of the alien vessels. On the main view screen, Elena could see the Zendari flagship moving to a safer distance, clearly reassessing the threat that a single human ship posed to their mighty fleet. "Open channel to Grand Admiral Zex Terrell," she ordered. When the alien commander appeared, his posture was noticeably different. The casual arrogance replaced by what Elena recognized as tension. "This is impossible," Zex Terrell hissed. "Your primitive technology cannot." "Cannot what?" Elena interrupted. "Cannot challenge the mighty Zendari Empire. Cannot innovate beyond your expectations. 10,000 years of unchallenged rule have left you vulnerable. Admiral, not in your ships or weapons, but in your thinking." She gestured to the tactical display showing disabled Zendari vessels. "This is just one human ship, our first true deep space carrier. Imagine what a fleet of them could do." The Zendari admiral's compound eyes seemed to narrow. "This setback changes nothing. The Empire will not be defied by a species barely out of its cradle." "Then we'll continue this demonstration," Elena replied calmly. "You have 1 hour to withdraw from our system. After that, we'll show you what humanity is truly capable of when threatened." The transmission ended, and Elena turned to her bridge crew. "They'll be back with reinforcements, but today we've accomplished something no species has done in 10 millennia. We've shown the Zendari Empire that they're not invincible." Lieutenant Koda's expression was one of barely contained excitement. "Will they actually withdraw, Admiral?" "For now," Elena replied, watching as the damaged Zendari fleet began slow retreat maneuvers. "But this is just the beginning. The real war starts when they return." As the massive alien vessels disappeared into hyperspace, leaving their disabled ships behind, Elena knew that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The age of obscurity was over. The age of defiance had begun. Dawn of a new era. 3 months after humanity's first confrontation with the Zendari Empire, the calm that had settled over the solar system felt like the silence before a storm. Admiral Elena Reyes knew better than to mistake the Empire's retreat for surrender. They had merely withdrawn to regroup and adapt. The UESS Defiant now led a small fleet of 7 vessels, each retrofitted with scaled-down versions of the Perseus Corps. Earth had been busy during the reprieve, accelerating military production and establishing defensive positions throughout the system. But Elena knew it wouldn't be enough against the full might of an empire spanning 20,000 worlds. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected at the heliopause, Lieutenant Koda announced, breaking the quiet routine of the bridge. Energy signatures match Zendari configurations, but there's something different. Elena moved to the tactical station, studying the readings. "Different how?" "The crystalline patterns are more complex," he replied. "And there's something else, organic components integrated into their structure." Before Elena could respond, Morgan's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, I've completed analysis of the incoming fleet. They've modified their technology to resist our disruption pulses. The adaptations appear specifically designed to counter the Perseus Core's previous attack patterns." The main view screen activated, showing the approaching Zendari Armada. Over 200 ships, significantly more than their previous force. The perfect geometric formations remained, but the vessels themselves had changed. Organic-looking growths now covered portions of their crystalline hulls, pulsing with an inner light. "They've integrated biological systems," Dr. Vega observed, looking up from her console. "Clever. Biological interfaces are naturally more adaptable than purely crystalline ones." Elena's expression remained calm, but her mind raced. This was precisely what she had anticipated and prepared for. Seems the Empire can innovate when properly motivated. Signal the fleet to assume Aegis formation and contact our allies. "Allies, Admiral?" Coda asked, confusion evident in his voice. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The Zendari aren't the only ones who've been busy these past months. As the Earth fleet moved into defensive positions, a new communication came through. Grand Admiral Zex Terrell, his carapace now adorned with additional ceremonial markings. "Admiral Reyes," the Zendari commander began, mandibles clicking in what Elena had learned indicated satisfaction. "Your defiance has been noted throughout the Empire. Few species have warranted a personal return from the Imperial fleet. You should feel honored." "We're just full of surprises," Elena replied evenly. "I see you've made some modifications to your ships. As you said, Admiral, complacency is a weakness. The Empire has not survived for 10 millennia by repeating mistakes. Your disruption technology was unexpected, but now countered. This time, there will be no retreat. Surrender now, and your species will be permitted to serve rather than face extinction." Elena maintained eye contact with the alien commander. "We have a saying on Earth: fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We won't be underestimated again, Admiral." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Morgan, initiate Perseus Core evolution protocols. Dr. Vega, prepare the sympathetic resonance array. Lieutenant Coda, deploy reconnaissance drones and coordinate with the fleet." As the Zendari Armada approached, Elena's confidence remained steady despite the overwhelming odds. The first engagement with the Empire had taught her that numbers alone didn't determine victory. Adaptation did. The battle began with a devastating display of Zendari firepower. Advanced versions of their previous weapons tore through space toward the human fleet, but instead of attempting to block or dodge, the Earth vessels absorbed the impacts through specially designed buffer shields. "Buffer shield holding," Coda reported. "Perseus Core is analyzing their new weapon frequencies." Elena nodded. "Deploy Phase 1 countermeasures." The Defiant and its companion ships released clouds of microscopic drones, each containing a simplified version of the Perseus Core. These swarms enveloped several Zendari vessels, attaching to their hulls and gathering data on their new biocrystalline technology. "We're getting real-time analysis," Dr. Vega announced. "The organic components are serving as adaptive interfaces, allowing their crystalline technology to reconfigure in response to threats." "Then we change the game," Elena decided. "Lieutenant Coda, initiate Protocol Prometheus." A new weapon deployed from the Defiant, not the disruption pulses that had been so effective in the first battle, but a complex pattern of targeted electromagnetic pulses designed to overload the neural connections between the biological and crystalline components of the Zendari ships. The effect was immediate. 3 Zendari cruisers lost propulsion, their biocrystalline systems thrown into confusion as the artificial synapses between components misfired in cascading failure. "It's working," Coda exclaimed, but his celebration was premature. The remaining Zendari vessels quickly adjusted, their bio-interfaces learning and compensating. Their return fire struck the UESS Dauntless, one of the Defiant's sister ships, disabling its engines and weapons systems. "They're adapting faster than anticipated," Morgan reported. calculating new countermeasures, but effectiveness will decrease with each iteration. Elena studied the tactical display, analyzing patterns in the Zendari fleet movements. Despite their technological adaptations, their tactical doctrine remained rigid, confined by millennia of unchallenged doctrine. "There," she said, pointing to a section of the enemy formation. "Their command structure is hierarchical. Each ship group takes orders from designated control vessels. Target those nodes." As the battle intensified, a new alert sounded on the bridge. "Incoming transmission," Coda reported. "But it's not from the Zendari command. It's on a secured frequency, coming from within one of their support ships." Elena nodded. "Put it through." The image that appeared wasn't Zendari, but a different alien species, reptilian, with iridescent scales and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "Human vessel," the alien spoke, its voice translator giving the words a metallic quality. "I am Shaxkar of the Talesian Resistance. Your fight against the Zendari presents an opportunity we have awaited for generations." Elena leaned forward. "Explain." "The Empire doesn't just conquer, it enslaves. Many subjugated species serve aboard their ships, maintained through neural control implants. Your disruptive technologies have temporarily weakened those controls." The alien's eyes blinked in sequence. "We can help you target their weaknesses from within, but you must act quickly." It was a risk trusting an unknown alien, but Elena's instincts told her this was genuine. "What do you propose?" "Their flagship carries the central command node for neural suppression. Disable it, and thousands of slaves across their fleet will be freed. We will fight from within while you attack from without." Elena made her decision. "Transmit the flagship's vulnerabilities. We'll handle the rest." With this new intelligence, the battle plan changed. While the Earth fleet engaged the Zendari's front lines, the Defiant slipped through defensive gaps identified by the Talesian Resistance. Elena had studied historical naval warfare extensively. The concept of hitting the enemy's command and control was as old as combat itself. "We're in position," Coda reported as the Defiant maneuvered behind the massive Zendari flagship, "but their rear shields are still at full strength." "Not for long," Elena replied. "Activate the sympathetic resonance array." Unlike their previous weapons, this device didn't attack the Zendari technology directly. Instead, it created a precisely calibrated field that caused the biocrystalline components to resonate against each other, generating destructive interference patterns from within. On the tactical display, Elena watched as sections of the flagship's shields began to fluctuate. "Target exposed sectors and fire Perseus disruptors, maximum yield." The disruptor beams struck with surgical precision, penetrating the weakened shields and striking the neural control nexus identified by the Talesian Resistance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then chaos erupted across the Zendari fleet. Ship after ship reported internal disturbances as thousands of enslaved beings, suddenly freed from neural control, rose up against their oppressors. The perfect formations dissolved into disarray as Zendari commanders found themselves fighting enemies both outside and within their vessels. "It's working," Dr. Vega whispered, watching the tactical displays. "My God, it's actually working." On the main screen, Grand Admiral Zex Terrell appeared again, his compound eyes flashing with fury. "What have you done, human? This treachery will not." The transmission cut off abruptly as the flagship's communication systems failed, likely sabotaged from within. "Multiple Zendari vessels are powering down or breaking formation," Coda reported, barely containing his excitement. Others appeared to be engaged in internal conflicts. Elena watched as the once mighty armada began to fracture. "Signal all Earth ships, press the advantage. Target any vessel still maintaining offensive capabilities." The tide had turned decisively. What had begun as a desperate defense had transformed into an opportunity not just for humanity, but for countless enslaved species throughout the Empire. 3 hours later, Elena stood in the Defiance conference room with representatives from 7 formerly subjugated species: the Talesians, Voroks, Markethi, and others whose names humanity was just learning. The Zendari fleet had been decimated, with over half their ships captured by internal rebellions, and the rest retreated in disarray. The Empire will not take this defeat lightly, Shakskar warned, his scaled skin catching the light as he moved. They will return with even greater force. But not immediately, added Kaleth, a crystalline being whose species had been among the first conquered by the Zendari. Their command structure relies on absolute authority. This defeat, at the hands of a species they considered primitive and slaves they thought completely controlled, will cause significant political disruption. Elena nodded. Then we use that time to prepare. Not just Earth, but all your worlds. What are you proposing, Admiral? Asked Morax, a massive four-armed being whose species had served as shock troops for the Empire. An alliance, Elena replied simply. The Zendari have ruled through division and suppression. They've never faced united resistance. Together, we can share technology, strategies, resources. She activated a holographic display showing the known galaxy. Earth is just one world, but your combined knowledge spans thousands of star systems. With the Perseus Core's adaptive capabilities and your insider understanding of Zendari weaknesses, we can build something the Empire has never encountered, a coalition of equals. As discussions continued into the night, plans took shape for what would later be called the Stellar Concordat, the first multi-species alliance formed specifically to challenge the Zendari hegemony. 1 month later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the refitted and expanded Defiant, watching as vessels from a dozen different species maneuvered in joint training exercises. Earth had become the unexpected nexus of a growing rebellion, with representatives from subjugated worlds arriving daily to join the cause. Lieutenant Kota joined her, handing over a datapad. The Talasian engineers have integrated their phase shift technology with our Perseus core. Efficiency has increased by 43%. Elena nodded, still watching the diverse fleet. And then Harkethi quantum communications. Successfully implemented across all command vessels, we now have instantaneous secure communications that the Zendari can't intercept. She turned to her trusted officer. We've come a long way from one ship against an empire. Do you think we can actually win? Kota asked, his voice lower. Their territory spans half the galaxy. We don't need to defeat every ship or liberate every world, Elena replied. We just need to break their myth of invincibility. Already, reports are coming in of spontaneous rebellions in the outer systems. The Zendari built their empire on the belief that resistance was futile. We've proven otherwise. She looked back at the stars, thinking of Earth, a planet that had been unknown to the wider galaxy just months ago, now standing as a beacon of defiance against a 10,000-year tyranny. This is just the beginning, Lieutenant, she said quietly. The galaxy is changing, and humanity will help shape what comes next. As if to punctuate her words, a new ship emerged from hyperspace, a vessel of unknown design, its hull decorated with symbols of yet another species Elena didn't recognize. More allies joining the cause, more pieces moving on the galactic chessboard. The age of Zendari dominance was ending. A new era of cooperation and innovation was dawning. And at its heart stood humanity, not the most advanced or numerous species, but perhaps the most determined to forge a different future among the stars. The fight ahead would be long and difficult. The Empire would not fall easily. But for the first time in 10 millennia, the outcome was no longer certain. And uncertainty, Elena knew, was where humanity had always thrived.